Hi, everyone. Welcome to Spirit Switchboard. I am your host, Kerrilynn Shellhorn, and you are listening to us live on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network 105.3 and 107.7, New Orleans. Tonight on Spirit Switchboard, I have paranormal investigator, Jazzman, actually lead investigator, and Jazzman Eric Mintel of Eric Mintel Investigations.
Well, hi, how are you?
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm excellent. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me on.
Hi, Deborah. Thanks for joining us. And we'll let that hello beautiful maybe go to both of us. It could go to both of us. Yes. Hi, Joanna. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Well, it's so good to be here.
Where can you let people know where you're joining me from?
Yes, I'm currently coming to you from Mars on the no, I'm coming from Bucks County, Pennsylvania, which is about 60 miles northeast of Philadelphia.
Gotcha.
And it's a great area here, very, very historical area. We're in the area right down the street, well, sort of right down the street from me is where Washington crossed the Delaware. So it's so it's a very, very historical area, and I've been here pretty much most of my life.
Right. So can you talk about or give just a quick sort of background how you went from music, from jazz into paranormal? I have some thoughts about that, actually.
Well, yeah, I'd like to hear them.
I have a kiddo that is so musically gifted, and he's my kid that's super intuitive as well too, and has had his own experiences. And I just think that you people that are in the music industry feel on such a different level in such a sensory way.
Oh, I totally agree. I'm an only child, so my parents, we didn't have much growing up, but we managed to have a pretty in tune, some of the time, piano in the house. And my parents could always find me at the piano. I was just fascinated, making up melodies and things. It's like 3 or 4 years old, I was at the piano. And so my mother was a school teacher and my father was blue collar, so he didn't really, but my dad could sit down at the piano and play whatever he wanted. He was just it would come to his, and he had a psychic, intuition as well. But my mom took like 10 years of lessons and really didn't play much, but she could play, but not to the level of, where I am or whatever. But I was pretty much sitting at the piano. And then I went from there to when I was 14, I found the music of Dave Brubeck, who I'm sure some of your listeners would know his most famous song, Take 5. And Blue Rondo a la Turk and all. He had one of the very first, well, actually the first jazz record in the 60s to be a gold record. So the song was called Take 5, and that was just, it went gold. But I found Dave Brubeck's music and just had that epiphany of like, this is what I want to do. So I did everything I could. I'm just giving you a quick synopsis back.
Yeah, I love it.
Pretty much, I learned everything I could on Dave Brubeck. Listened to a lot of his music. And then I took maybe a year's worth of piano lessons. And so my piano teacher, I was coming to the lessons playing a lot of this Dave Brubeck, very hard, obscure, very difficult music. And my piano teacher was trying to teach me Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. So he said, I can't really teach you. You're going to kind of have to go your own way. And that's pretty much what I've done most of my life now. And in 1993. Now that was 1982 that I had a year's worth of lesson. 1993, I started my very first quartet, and it was Eric Mintel Quartet. And we started doing the college circuit. Then in 1998, got a chance to perform when I called the White House to ask to perform. And I pretty much said, do you have any programs where you send musicians around to perform? And I wanted to perform for any kind of positive outreach, like performing for troops overseas, any kind of homeless.
Right.
Like that. So they invited me and my quartet to perform for a holiday dinner reception for the President Clinton at the time. And that was 1998. And then 2011, got a chance to perform for President Obama. So it's been an ongoing thing with my music, and the guys that are with me now, we've been together over 20 years.
Wow.
And I'm celebrating 30 years now as a band leader.
That's
But
awesome.
now going back a little bit, 2016, pretty much my whole life, I've always been interested in normal. Always have, especially here in Bucks County, so many stories, ghost stories, UFOs, Bigfoot, all kinds of different locations here that are just off the chart haunted. And it's because of the great, rich history that we hear. A lot of ties to the Underground Railroad, which we'll talk about as well. And so in 2016, I was looking at a lot of the paranormal shows that were on TV. And I said, I can do something like that. I can do that. At the time, I had a television show called Talking Jazz with Eric Mintel, and it was on a television network in New Jersey. And I asked them, I said, would you be interested in doing having a paranormal show? And they said, yeah, that'd be great. So we started doing, so the videos started, and then people started coming to us wanting to do videos of their inns, bed and breakfasts, all kinds of different things. So now we're getting on a lot more different networks. We've got just got picked up by Temple University Television in Philadelphia. We're on a lot of community stations around the country, and cable networks too, but and on YouTube and Facebook. But that's what's been going on. And I mean, we cover it all. We've covered ghosts, Bigfoot, UFOs, Dogman sightings, which we'll talk about too. And it's been phenomenal. And my jazz audience is following me into the paranormal world, which is really cool.
Yeah, it's fabulous. It's fabulous. It's quite a journey, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm just going to get to some of these people who are saying hello to us. Oh, Kirsten Nicole. So I did do a reading for your mom yesterday, and I'm glad that it was incredible. And I hope that we are able to connect at some point as well, too. Thank you for coming on today and listening to the show.
Hey, Julie.
Hi, Julie.
Julie is an awesome, another psychic medium.
Oh, brilliant.
You should definitely be in. She's like, I love the colors on you.
Thank you.
You should definitely friend her on Facebook. She's awesome. Julie's accompanied us on a couple of investigations, and on this last one we're doing too.
Okay.
For the Tampa Museum.
I think, was Julie at the inn? There was one at an inn, I think, that I watched. Was that Julie?
That was Karen Luchin, but Julie did the New Hope Railroad with me.
Sorry, Julie, that I didn't get that right, but I will find the video and I will link it on my socials tomorrow to make up for what I just did. But yeah, let's connect for sure.
Yeah, she was on the New Hope Railroad. It's the New Hope Railroad haunted rail. Yeah.
I did write haunted rails down. Yeah. Okay.
And phenomenal. And so she's been in this new one too, along with Dominic. And I'll tell you, this new video that we're doing at this Vampa Museum is off the charts.
I'm looking forward to having both Dominic and Ed on the show separately. Hi, Monica. Thank you for joining us.
And you should have Julie on too. That would be awesome.
Yeah, that would be great. Hi, Karen. Thank you for listening all the way in Australia.
All the way from down under.
Down under.
That's awesome.
Oh, hi, Kim. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. I am grateful that you're here. Hi, Denise Smits. That's okay. I get redder as the show goes, just because I get excited. So we can both blush through the whole thing. Just getting us caught up. Still get goosebumps watching all that you did yesterday. Absolutely incredible. Thank you very much, Kirsten. To be honest, I don't tend to watch anything over again. It's like I have a hard time watching myself. I just don't. Been there, done that. Let's move on to the next stuff.
Oh, sure.
Right?
Yeah. I think that's human nature, right?
Yeah. Hi, Kathy. Thank you for joining us. Tina. Hi. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us. Hi, Diane. Thank you for joining us. Anita, thank you very much. Eric, what was your first paranormal investigation? Like, what's the one that really hooked you in?
Well,
do you remember?
Oh yeah. Well, I should say which one really, changed my whole perspective.
Yes, I would love to hear that.
Was when we investigated the Beast of Bray Road in Elkhorn, Wisconsin. Now, the Beast of Bray Road, for your listeners that may or may not know, the Beast of Bray Road is supposed to be an upright canine, dogman, werewolf type creature, and it's about 6 to 7.
All the way back from like the 1930s.
Right. It's been around since the 30s, but
yeah.
Linda Godfrey had brought it back to prominence again in the early 90s because, and I should say that sightings never diminished. Just people didn't come forward with their sightings, but they had been happening for years. So in the 90s, people are seeing this thing all over the place down there out in Wisconsin. So, when we did this investigation, this was October of 2021, so relatively only a couple of years ago. So our good friend and fan, Ellen Collins, she loves our show, and she had said to me, she said, we ought to do a documentary on the Beast of Bray Road. I said, well, I would love to do that. And it sounds awesome. I said, just, the thing is, how are we going to do it? How are we going to get out there? And who's going to pay for it? So she said, hey, I'll pay the freight. So she basically paid our way for this video to happen. And we're so grateful for her. So I made her executive producer on that. Brilliant. But I'll tell you what, how that whole thing came about, just to give you a quick synopsis, was I was watching a show called Paranormal Declassified. And I had seen Lee Hample, who was the farmer that basically has had all this activity on his farm, on his hay farm. And just watching him on the show, it made me say to myself, man, this guy looks like he's really approachable. I'm going to try to get him, I'll try to reach out to him on the internet and see if we could do something on the property. Well, I reached out to him that night and we talked for 2 hours on the phone. And he sent me picture after picture of the creature, footprints, hair samples, all weird UFO lights going through the woods and everything. And I was hooked. I was like, my God, we got to do something here. So that was in December of 2020. And then it wasn't until July of 2021 that we decided that we were going to do the video.
That's a lot of buildup.
Oh, yeah.
That's a lot of time to think about getting there.
Big time. And it was just basically we had been doing productions prior to that and doing other videos, but that was something I was like, man. And I have to say too, when I first heard of the Beast of Bray Road, I didn't really put too much into it, only because I had heard about it. I didn't really put too much into it. I kind of knew that we were going to get a great documentary. We were going to talk to some really cool people, and I not thinking once that we'd ever have an encounter with this thing, and we did on the night of October 3rd, 2021. I'll never forget it.
Like a visual encounter?
Visual and audio encounter. So, and for your listeners, they could check out my video. It's called The Beast of Bray Road, Alive and Well, because there is something there. And what we heard that night, it was just, we were in, if people could picture this, we were in this hayfield. So it's basically a 35-acre hayfield. And on either side in this rectangle, this big rectangle, is corn on either side. And the hay is already down. It's already been harvested for the year. So we're over in an area called the bait area that Lee has put, roadkill deer over in this to try to lure this thing in to get some pictures on the trail cam. So we're in that area. And earlier in the day, I wound up baiting the area with steak bones that we had the night before. So that all day I'm thinking to myself, was that a good or bad idea? But apparently it was a good idea because, so we're standing there and all of a sudden, the first thing that happened though, we had like a trifecta of paranormal activity. The first thing that happened was Dominic looks up. So joining me.
Can you tell people who Dominic is?
Yeah, Dominic's my spirit medium paranormal partner in the series. He and I have known each other since high school.
You can tell.
Yeah.
Like you interact like brothers.
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally. And but here's the thing. In high school, I never even knew he was a medium. I mean, we were practicing martial arts, working out, and whatever. But it wasn't until like 29 years later, he got married and I got married. Life went in different directions. And then he came back in through a mutual friend, and he had said to me, he's like, hey, you know, I would probably be good on your investigations. And, you know, I'm a medium. I'm like, what? I said, you never told me this. So anyway, he was with me that night, and he's been amazing because he gives us a preview of what we're in store for. But out in Elkhorn, it was completely out of his wheelhouse because this thing was off the charts. It was just crazy. So the first thing, he's standing there. It was me, Dominic, Ellen Collins, and Ellen's son Scott, who was working the camera, and he was our drone operator. And just real quick, he sees we all see this. He goes, what the hell is that? And we look up, and there's a solid orb of light going over the field.
What color?
And white, all bright white, going over the field. And these are some of the things that Lee has talked about. So we're seeing this thing go over, and we see other planes in the area. And, you know, we did some research later to make sure it wasn't a space station, satellite, like that. And it wasn't anything in the star maps. But this thing comes right over, and we're just looking at this thing. We're trying to figure out what the heck it is. And all of a sudden, it does a little 45-degree angle and blinks out. And you could see it all on the video. So the second thing that happens, so we're startled. We're like, this is within 5 minutes of being out there. Then the second thing that happens, we hear a howl in the distance. And then we hear another one close by. And we're like, Dominic's like, are you hearing this howl? And Ellen goes, yeah, it's coming from over there. And as she says that, the next howl was so close. And it sounded like to me, it sounded like a man screaming, this low guttural scream, growl, yell combination. And you could hear it all in the video. And the amazing thing is we had these little lavalier microphones that we had for close miking.
Right.
That it was that loud to pick that up from 100 yards away. And so it was really louder on site where we were. But when you hear it on the video, it's that loud on the video. So right away, we're like, what the hell is this? You know, and I'm like, uh-oh.
And not a wolf, not
a
yipping
coyote.
like a coyote.
Nope, it wasn't a wolf. That's what we went over this and over this. Wasn't a wolf, was not a coyote, definitely not a coyote, because it didn't pitch. It was monotone. It was just a monotone sound. Coyotes will pitch, you know, and they've got, but this was one solid tone. And that was the one thing. And then the third thing, actually 4 things, but the third thing that happened right after that, we saw this weird mist coming up from the field that we were in, and it was messing with our electronics. And this is another like part of this Bigfoot Dogman phenomena where this mist comes in. Lee has a picture. This will blow your mind. Lee has a picture on his trail cam where you see this mist coming over, and it's it's in the middle of the day, but you see this mist on a clear day. Mist comes over this deer in the trail cam picture, one picture. The next picture is like 30 seconds later. The mist is gone, and so's the deer, like this roadkill deer, gone. So
that's wild.
What I mean, and some of the pictures that he sent or that he showed us with the hair samples with no medulla, they were just clear and translucent. Very, very strange. So that was the one thing that really just changed my whole perspective in an investigation of what's out there. And but I encourage folks to go check out that video. It's called and it's on our YouTube page, Eric Mintel Investigates. It's on the Beast of Bray Road, Alive and Well. And I'll tell you, it was just, and we're still wrapping our heads around it. The most unbelievable, well, not unbelievable thing, because it happened. So we went back the next year in April of 2022, and we did a follow-up investigation there. Now, we didn't encounter it this time, but what we did get was over 140 people showed up at our town hall meeting to tell their story of seeing this creature. And they all described the same thing. And the way when it was on 2 legs, how it was gliding. And then when it's on all 4s, it's really fast. So that's
does it look wolf-like?
Right. It was very wolf-like, but not wolf. More dog-like.
So the snout is different.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Very,
Okay,
and
I have more questions, but I just don't want to leave this lady hanging. So I want to
Go ahead,
respond to her really quickly, if that's okay. So I just want to say hi and thank you very much for joining us. And you were asking, I appreciate that you were asking if we're taking questions, or if I'm taking questions, psychic questions, and I am not. But I appreciate that you're here, and thank you for asking that. Tonight we are chatting with Eric Mintel about all things paranormal, cryptid, UAPs, all of it. I love it. Yes, I agree. I love hearing the stories as well too. I think it was maybe part two. Maybe it was part two that I saw a bit of where the hotel keys demagnetized.
Yes, which again was so weird. I mean, that was. And the other thing in that, there's something going on out there as far as like, interdimensional.
The land itself, do you think?
The land itself, yes, because, and as out as this sounds, and I know we're talking about this, but, interdimensional stuff, there was a point in that investigation. So Scott wears virtual reality glasses while he's doing the drone. He's got these very high-end drones. So he's following us. We were doing some reconnaissance earlier in the day in that field. And as we're walking in the field, he's looking at us to make sure we're okay. All of a sudden, we disappeared at this section in the field over by that bait area. And we disappeared off of his screen. He had to lift the glasses up to see where we were there, but we just weren't there electronically in his vision, which was really weird. And again, that's where we had that activity happen.
And different types of activity.
Well, that night for the house, that was that. But yeah, Lee's oh my God, he's got so much activity there. And, you think to yourself, how is this possible? But he's got pictures to prove it. That's the other thing.
And it is life-changing and life-altering.
Oh my God. Well,
Kathy is just asking, do you feel it's a portal?
Totally.
It's a portal there?
Totally. Yeah, I would definitely say there's some kind of portal activity there. Lee never gave a hoot about paranormal. He didn't have any interest in that at all until one night that this thing presented itself on his property, and he sees two red glowing eyes staring at him. Then it jumps 50 feet, and he could not believe it. So he was a believer from that point. And then the tracks that he found. And
it's very brave to be a believer out loud.
Oh yeah.
Like, to say, this is my story and this is my truth and this is what's happening, and invite people there, right?
Let me tell you, it's even braver to be on site like we were. Boots on the ground.
That's so funny that you say that. My dad and my stepmom have been together over 30 years, and she is Indigenous. They live on a reserve outside of Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. And he was telling me, I don't know, a number of years ago, I know I've shared this story a few times, but I think it's brilliant, that somebody had saw on the reserve in this hunting bluff, bipedal creature, 9 to 10 feet tall, dragging part of the hind end of a moose. And I'm like, Dad, do you think somebody will take me out there? And he's like, are you crazy? Do you want to die? And I'm like, It would be epic. Like, it would be epic. Somebody needs to bring a camera.
Oh yeah. Oh,
let's totally go.
Well, that's people were saying, what they were saying, why didn't you stay out there longer? And well, here's the other thing. I would have stayed out there longer, but the thing I didn't mention was that we did see it, because we heard it, and then we shined the light over to where that howl was coming from.
Right.
And here, about 6 feet up in the corn, we see eyes going like this, darting back and forth, like stalking us, And we didn't have any protection whatsoever. Mm-hmm. We had a flashlight and a radio. That was it, like a walkie-talkie. And I said to the team, I said, listen, this thing's telling us that it's their territory. Get the hell out of here. And we did. We just left.
Safety is important regardless of whatever type of investigation it is. Like, safety needs to be a factor first. And having the encounter was brilliant, and you captured it, and going back again is different. And you're prepared different, right?
Oh yeah, well, we're definitely prepared now for sure. I mean, we know kind of what we're dealing with, but
Do you think they remember you? Do you think like, you can smell a bear coming from a mile away? Like, is there a smell? Do they smell you and remember? Do they remember sight? Like, do you think that?
That's a good question. That very well could be. I don't know. But I do know this though. It was just that we did, and I was almost glad, not because of the fear factor. I was kind of glad that we didn't encounter it, because then I would be like, well, people would say, well, wait, every time they go out there, they're seeing this thing, but we just happened to hit it that first time. We happened to hit it just at the right time. We were at the right time at the right place. I mean, there's the Travel Channel's done stories on this.
Yeah.
History Channel. They have not gotten anything close to what we've got.
When you hear the howls too, like you just get that chicken skin. You get goosebumps from head to toe.
I did. And I didn't at first. It was that, like, what is that? It's like, but I was more like, what are we hearing? What is this?
Mm-hmm.
It was that curiosity. I was pretty calm. Now, Dominic, if you talk to Dominic, he'll tell you that I was ready to dive into the truck there. But
right.
I was basically like trying to figure out what the heck this was, and then Ellen, here's the other weird thing too. So Ellen had this weird dream when she was, and in the video, people could see this, like when we heard the second howl, Ellen is still looking at this UFO. And she's looking up there, and she had said she had a dream where this creature put its like claw in her palm, and she could see everything why it was there.
Oh.
And what the weird thing is? Lee has had that same dream, and they didn't know anything about that. They never compared notes there.
So that telepathic communication in some form, right?
It's weird. Yes, very, very strange.
So there are a few questions in the chat that I'd like to bring up for you. So Cheryl is asking, could this be a form of elemental or a being from another dimension?
Oh, definitely, Cheryl. Yeah, for sure. That's what we're thinking.
Karen is asking, do you think this creature is attacking people or just other animals?
I don't know about people. I've not heard anything about that. But
the stories that I've read are it's intimidating, but to me, is it just trying to push people away so you're out of its space, right?
I mean, that's the feeling that we got. I mean, I wasn't, like I said, I was going to hang out to find out any bit more, but yeah, that could be. I mean, there is, we're going back now, like to the 30s. There could be stories of that, and there's just nothing written about that. We can't really figure that out. I know
documented, right? Like,
right.
So you don't even know if there's like an oral history that's been passed down through families that have not maybe come forward either to share the story.
Exactly.
That's why those invitations, like you had 140 people show up to share their stories. That's why those community sort of events are important.
Totally. And then when they're coming forward, telling us the stories about how this thing's walking and how it's fit, and like every story is compared the same way, there's got to be something there. I always say that there's always truth to the folklore.
Yeah.
And then come to find out later, like the following year, well, in 2023, or was it end of 2022, we did a video on the Beast of Bryn Athyn, and that's Bryn Athyn, Pennsylvania. It's and apparently it's another Dogman that they're describing the same way as they were in Elkhorn. So then I'm thinking to myself, what are these all over the country? Are these all over the world? So
well, I think so. There must be.
They have to be. Yeah. I know up in your area, a good friend of mine, Morgan Knudsen, has also done videos on Dogman up in Alberta. Area.
Oh, that's my son is in Alberta, or my oldest son is there. But Northern Ontario has its own. Northern Ontario is its own crazy little world of UAPs and cryptids and hauntings. It's it's wild up there. Kathy is just commenting, I see your alien statues, but this sounds like a different kind of portal, not like alien.
Yeah, I don't think it's alien. I think it's some kind of, I mean, here's the thing, like you've got Bigfoot, right? People see Bigfoot and all of a sudden it's there and then it's gone. Mm-hmm. Does this thing have a way of like cloaking itself. You know, it's like if you see a deer and you know how it blends itself into the environment. I mean, and it's there, but sometimes you just can't see it. Your eyes can't adjust to it. Is it something like that? Is it similar to that? I'm not sure, but it's weird how people see, you know, you could be standing with someone, even if it's like a ghost or a UFO, that person will see it. And then all of a sudden you don't see it, or or you see it and they don't see it. It's fascinating.
Are there tunnels in that area?
Or
on that property? Are there tunnels or anything like that? Do they know?
I don't
there's
think
anything
so.
Underground?
I don't think so. I don't think that they've looked at that yet.
Or ley lines, like.
Well, that's something that I was looking at, and you know, Lee's been wanting to get the hair tested, right, on DNA testing.
Right.
But unfortunately, the university out there wants to charge like $3,000 or something like that to get it tested, and it's like, so we're trying to find like an area that he could go where they could just do it, you know, it's just they just test it. But so that's been a little bit of a holdup. But as far as like ley lines, I always thought that there could be those, because there are lines like that all over the world. Maybe that in that particular area, that's one of those areas there, because it's got a lot of high strangeness for sure.
Right. And so in my brain, when I was listening to you retell the story, I'm like 140 people and all their different stories. Did you pinpoint it on a map and then you ley line it over top? And do you see the consistencies? And it's an investment of time and energy, and you have to be passionate about it.
Oh yeah. That's what we have.
To do the work, right?
Ellen's our Wisconsin branch researcher. So she's been doing a lot of research on that. She's also been doing a lot of research on the tapetum lucidum, whereas, you know, the eye shine, trying to figure out how does this creature have this red glowing. There's got to be a tremendous amount of energy to have this glow. And that's another thing people have been describing as well. So there's just so many different things about it, but they're all consistent reports. They're not different. They're all consistent. That's the most fascinating part about it.
One of the questions I had wrote down for you was about your team. Like, how do you decide where you're going to go, and the members of your team having different skill sets, like all the different skill sets, and how you balance each other out, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, you know, since I don't have those feelings like Dominic or Julie would have going in, and yourself, where you would go into like a location and feel those.
And sometimes before you go to the location. If
totally.
you're sensitive, sometimes you just get told we're going somewhere Friday and you get hit with it before.
Oh, no doubt. Exactly. And I totally believe that. And so what I'll tend to do, so my strength is going to be in the research and the locations of where we're going to be investigating, and then get those stories from the owner or whoever is on the property. Whether it's bed and breakfast, an inn, hotel, whatever, you know, whatever location it is.
Do they reach out to you, or do you?
They reach out. They reach out to me, and then I reach out to them sometimes as well. And I'll get all of the history and any of the paranormal history and activity. So I'll keep that to myself. And then when we go into a location, I'm not saying anything to Dominic. I don't say anything to Julie. And then to get that on camera for them to go right to those hot spots, it's amazing, because it's like they're going right. And then what happens, and I'm sure you've had this happen too, a story starts unfolding.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden another story that no one even knew about starts unfolding. And it's like, oh my God. And it happened to us at another location. Good friends of ours have an out architectural salvage company. It's called New Spirit Old Soul, and I
love that.
Yeah, it's a great. But we did on the property is a 1759 farmhouse. So Beth, the owner, has always felt like weird energy in there.
Is that the videos that are called Homestead?
Yeah, Hallowed Grounds of the Homestead.
Okay.
And the first video we did for them, Beth, we were upstairs in this bedroom where Beth has always felt this weird energy coming from whatever. She didn't know what it was. So we were in there, and we're in the mat. We don't use a lot of the gimmicks that a lot of shows use. We don't use REM pods. We don't use spirit boxes or anything like that.
That.
Only because, you know, they can give a false reading. you know, especially with like your camera equipment can set that stuff off. So we try to avoid,
Walkie-talkies.
yeah, and walkie-talkies, right. And so we try to avoid all that. The main thing we'll use is a magnetometer, and we'll use a maybe an EVP, like for to get some.
Can you explain to people what a magnetometer is? Just
Magnetometer, basically, it's electromagnetic energy. It's going to detect the Earth's electromagnetic energy or any residual energies in an area. Now, that detector, that could also pick up wiring. It could pick up, you know, if your light's on, you go by a switch, you know, by a light switch, and that thing will go off the charts. But we've used this thing where there's been no electricity and the thing's going off the charts. So there's something there, whatever that is, if it's spiritual energy, I don't know, but there's some kind of residual energies. And that's what happened this night. This magnetometer is going off the charts in this bedroom. And I had been over by this one area, by this table, and I went right by the table, and I know I didn't hit this plant, but all of a sudden I looked, and it was like moving. It was just like moving like that. And I go, Beth, I don't want to alarm anybody, but I just saw that plant move. And she goes, and she's a designer, right? So she's a interior designer as well.
Right.
She went, and Beth is very, very like even keeled. She went from even keeled to, I did not put that there. That's not there. That was not there. And all of a sudden, she just like had this big emotional burst of energy.
Right.
That she just had a meltdown right on camera. And we're like, whoa, what the heck? And so we got her out of there, and she was like hyperventilating and everything. So it turns out later that Dominic's sensing this spirit that was in the room, which we found out later was the spirit of Elizabeth, who used to be the owner of the house back in the 1700s, whose husband, oh my God, and these stories just unfold. The husband wound up cheating on her with one of the workers at the house, had a child with that worker, and the child died. And it was just so, and the child's apparently on the property. So all of this energy is like, it's in that particular area.
Right.
So, and this is Dominic, and then she had another friend of hers, Renee, who was also feeling these kind of energies as well. So this was one thing. And I had said to Beth, I said, because I'm a respectable guy, I said, Beth, do you want to have that on camera? You know, you really, I mean, it was pretty heavy. She's like, if that's how it happened, we've got to keep it on there.
Well, good for her, you know, to be transparent with the story and transparent with her experience in it. And, you know, for her to be able to process it, was she feeling all of the emotions of the past as well, too, and being open to understanding how discernment for herself.
That's
right?
what was happening. That's what was happening. It was just coming right to her so fast. She didn't know how to handle it.
Yeah.
And it was just really emotional. And then, I mean, that's happened a few times on a lot of these investigations, and we're still trying to figure out, where is that coming from? Where is this energy coming from? And I mean, obviously we know where it's coming from, but there's always a backstory to it. And then it becomes this developmental thing where there's another story that nobody even knew about. Yeah. And then somebody comes along and goes, oh yeah, we know about that.
And why is it revealing itself now? Is there something that you need to do or act? Do the people in spirit need support or help? Because you end up doing spirit therapy and helping them cross if they're stuck. Like there's all kinds of different things, right?
I was just going to say that, and I'm sure you've done this too, that you have to help them cross over. So we did that. Julie was with us. Oh, Julie was in this great video we did for the Water Wheel Tavern. It's called What Waits at the Water Wheel. And Julie, and when we had this premiere in October of the video, Julie and Dominic were helped. There was a spirit in that restaurant that they helped cross over that night of the event. Not during the investigation, because we didn't realize that what was going on at that point. But it was at the event that it was good to have Julie on that, because she gave a whole nother perspective onto this investigation. So they helped cross her over, and apparently now everything's pretty clear now over there.
Oh, that's so good. Yeah. And it shows like you could have 5 different mediums in one location, and everyone is going to pick up a different layer, because we all work differently. We're all at different places with our own healing personal journey, which I think affects the depth that we get to and the clarity that we pull in,
Right.
our own personal stuff.
Totally.
Yeah. I agree, Cheryl. So many layers of the past. That's kind of how I look at sessions too. I look at them as a story. So I have a structure that I like so that we get that clear information and backing it up, and it just unfolds like a story. I like it. And then it sort of feels like I have control without me sounding like I have control issues. Hopefully. But you have to have some sort of boundaries with all of it, even when you are doing investigations, right? You have to have some sort of boundaries. How do you approach that? How do you as a team?
Well, yeah, you basically just nailed it on the head there. You've got to have a boundary line there because you can't invite these things in. You've got to pretty much just, have that boundary. Well, let me just say this on this Vampa museum that we just did. Julie saged us. So going in and coming out, because this is the first time that we've ever dealt with demonic possessions or haunted items, which there are a lot of.
Are there a lot in that? Ed's coming on in, I think, the week after Dominic, actually.
Oh, yeah. Well, wait till you. Ed is amazing because he's just got a incredible knowledge of the world of antiquities. And I mean, just the items that he has in that museum are not only beautiful, they're just so historically significant. And he can tell you more about the Dracula lore, vampires, but what we experienced the other night, we went in and got some extra footage, and this has never happened before on camera. Dominic we did a half shot, like right about here up, talking about how Dominic had heard this particular sound in the barn next door when we were doing the investigation in the barn. He had heard it in this haunted doll room. Well, as he says that he heard the same thing, he said this, he thought it was maybe a voice box or something on one of the dolls, that the batteries were dying, but those dolls are antiques. There's no batteries or anything.
Right.
As he says the batteries are dying, we all hear this disembodied voice coming from this room that he was standing behind. And he says, and he'll tell you, I'm sure, that it was trying to reach out to touch him. And it freaked everybody out. And I was pretty much the only calm one there. Well, all three of us were just going crazy, but it was nuts. And that's never happened before like that. But it was.
Did you tap out at that point or keep going?
Dom did. Dom pretty much was done. He didn't want, because he got freaked out. He didn't. And look, and I understand where he's coming from. You don't want to invite any of these things back.
Well, this is it. No attachments have ever happened on investigations at this point?
No.
Yeah, that's good.
And thankfully. But the thing is, we all wore our rosaries that night.
Well, I was going to ask, not everybody believes in that. Not everybody believes in having, and it's a belief system. So I'm not judging. Oh, yeah. Like everybody's got to approach it in their own way, right? But I have a faith background of some kind is helpful.
And I'm not extremely religious, but I have a strong faith, Yeah. So, but it gives you a little bit of thoughtful protection too.
Oh, I don't know what just happened. We'll just pull you back in.
There we go.
We talk about attachments.
And then I detached.
Ghosted again.
I ghosted again already. First time, not even an hour in. I'm out of here.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, everybody approaches. So do you have a structure, a routine going into an investigation? Like some people do a prayer, some people, make sure that they introduce themselves every time they go into somewhere new. Like, do you have something that's important to you a ritual that you follow?
I don't introduce ourselves when we go on an investigation at all, just because I don't think it's necessary, to be honest with you, because we're not really introducing ourselves. We don't want to introduce ourselves. We want to find out what's going on there, you know?
Right.
But I get what you're saying, just so to let them know that we're not, we haven't experienced any kind of malevolence, because we're not about that. We're about, my show is very, very family friendly. So we add a little bit of humor into it. But on the same token, we're investigating some serious, heavy stuff, you know, and but we go into it respectfully, I would say that, you know, and we're going in. So I'll send Dominic in, and he kind of pinpoints where some of that energy is coming from. And we kind of let the investigation organically develop, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it certainly does. Actually, I think, this is what I wrote down when I was, because I, watched a few clips from the different videos, and this is one of the notes that I wrote, that it's seeking answers, not just entertainment.
Yeah,
that's the takeaway that I had when I was watching them.
That's really good. I appreciate that, and that's pretty much what we do. I mean, early on, you know, we were doing videos were kind of like tongue in cheek and things like that, and it was entertainment value. But I think the more and more we've gotten into this, there's a phenomena going on here that is really, I mean, it's fascinating to me. And again, like I said before, you know, at the end of the day, people are seeing something, they're experiencing something. And in our research, I mean, I've seen that, you know, that we're basically, I think there's people that are picked to see these things, you know. And yes, Julie saged us at the Vampa Museum the last time we were there, going in and out. So that's one of the things that we did, and I felt protected at that point.
Do you feel intention also matters? Like what your intention is going into a place? Like, I personally feel that if there's spirits in a location that are intelligent or able to, you know, interact, they're going to pick up no different than if we're at a party. You know, we walk into a party, we can tell where we feel aligned or where we don't, or who our back is up against the wall, that they would have the same sort of things with us as well too.
I think that you're right. I think the other thing is too, you know, a lot of the places that we're investigating are places that have had this activity, like inns, pubs, restaurants, because I always say if there's a haunting, they liked being there. You know, and this is why they're still there. That energy's still there. Like some people want to go,
or tragedy
too. Yes, exactly.
High emotion of some kind.
Exactly. And I know Julie felt that kind of that energy at the Water Wheel Tavern when we did that video. But a lot of people want to go to graveyards and investigate graveyards, but there's nothing there.
Oh, I don't know about that. Like I started this would be my second summer, I think, maybe third, with my friend. I'm like, let's do a pioneer cemetery crawl. Instead of a pub crawl, not a drinker. So I said, let's do a pioneer cemetery crawl. And so I know that I chatted with you before we started the show about using the geocaching app.
Yes.
And I found all these obscure pioneer cemeteries, like tucked into places that you know, off the beaten path. And there is one cemetery in particular, like growled at, swore at. Whoa. There is definitely something that is holding other spirits at that place. And we haven't really investigated enough yet to find out if people have been on the property doing rituals and opened a door, if it's actually something that's attached. But each time we go, there's some aggressive spirits at that one location. So, but I would agree with you. Like, I make a list at the beginning of spring, and, you know, until fall, we hit all these different, you know, pioneer series. And out of the list of 10, we might hit 3 where we're having a lot of interactive stuff happen. But for the most part, we don't.
You know, it's funny, you know, I shouldn't say that there's nothing there. I did back in, I want to say the end of 2022, it was October of 2022. I was speaking at colleges up in Vermont area. And so we went out on one of the speaking engagements. So I spoke a little bit about what we do. And then right after that, we went out and investigated a local graveyard. That was part of the Vermont University. University of Vermont. And so we get out there, and there was, there must have been 30 kids out there. They were totally into it. But we get out there, and I went and I had the magnetometer. I was showing them what was going on. This one student we're standing by this gravestone, and he didn't have his phone on him or anything like that. And the magnetometer was going off the charts right around him. And then when he put his hand on the gravestone, it went crazy. It went really, then he took his hand off and it went down. And it went back, and then he put his hand on it again. So he had some kind of connective thing there.
Did you do an EVP session in that moment? That would have been interesting to see if anything picked up.
We did, and there was nothing that came up. But we did get a lot of orbs, though, in this one schoolhouse, the red schoolhouse that we investigated right after that. So a lot of orbs, but you don't know if it was dust or whatever, sometimes.
Moisture,
Yeah, exactly. But we've had orbs. We were in an art center in Fitzgerald, Georgia, doing another video for the town of Fitzgerald, and but the bass player in my band, Dave Antonell, he also accompanies us on some of the videos, and he and I were down there because Dominic couldn't make it, and Dave is more of a skeptic than all of us. So, but we were in this art center, and the camera guy there had the camera on me and Dave. The magnetometer is going off the charts in this one area where they had African art there the week before. And this art was supposed to be the type of art that the spirit of that individual was infused into the artwork somehow. Anyway, I'm standing there, and the magnetometer is going off the charts. And then on camera, you can see an orb come up right behind me.
Oh,
in this particular, it was so wild. So that's on video too. But some of the stuff, I can't write this, this just organically happens, and it's amazing.
And it hooks you in, and it is a bit of an adrenaline rush, but it makes you question so many things, right? Especially, it just makes you question. I'm just going to read, there's a couple of comments here.
Sure.
Karen is just commenting, I agree. Yes, lucky I've been with my partner when I have seen and experienced stuff makes you feel like you're not going crazy when you have somebody else experiencing with you, for sure. Joanne is just saying, I've been growled at in a cemetery during the day. I'll send it to you. One of the photos that we got, that my good friend that I do most of the investigations in the cemeteries with, we don't know what it is. She says it kind of looks like a demon dog. That's what I say it looks like, a demon dog.
Wow.
And what's interesting, it did kind of look like a hellhound. What was interesting at the time, that was just a weird investigation, because there was the farmer had come onto, because it's in the middle of nowhere, came onto the cemetery. They were riding like a side by side, him and this female through. They go through. She says, was that a dog? And I'm picking up on somebody that's been murdered, and I got all kinds of like weird stuff happening. So she snaps a couple of pictures, and then she saw it physically, and then it showed up in the pictures.
Wow.
But the murder that I was picking up on, because I kept feeling that we had to go up towards the road, it was actually the next cemetery that we were going to that was on the list. And there was a huge plaque all about this murder and how the whole thing had taken place. So I think sometimes if there's energy there, which was a question I had for you too, they summon you. Like, have you had a place that really you felt pulled to check out?
Well, it's hard. It's hard to say, because every location I'm pulled at all the time to go to these because I love doing what we're doing. I love telling the stories. But so it's but I would say the Elkhorn investigation and the Bigfoot in the New Jersey Pine Barrens was another one that was pulling.
Okay, that was actually one of the ones that I wrote down to connect with you. It was actually, I don't even remember now if it was part 2 or part 1. So you can let me know which one I was watching, because the fellow there was having having that experience of moving through cancer treatments, and so there is a clip where he said, he didn't know if there was something about his cancer meds And then something happens like right in that moment.
Well, yeah, that was part 2. That's called On the Watch for Squatch, part 2.
Yeah, I love it. I just love it. So
but
I
yeah,
kind of took us to the back end. So why don't you tell,
yeah, I'll
share
tell.
with us the story?
Oh my God, and thank you for watching that too, because his name's Art Mack, and he's
Thank you.
doing okay.
Good.
He's I mean, he's going through this. To look at him, you wouldn't think anything, but
No.
he's a trooper. He's a
And
strong
calm.
guy. Huh?
Calm. He was
Very,
very calm, matter of fact.
very calm, very calm. Great guy.
Yeah.
So, well, we did this investigation a week after we came home from Elkhorn in 2021. We did the very first part.
Right.
Because there had been a lot of sightings of these juvenile Bigfoots in New Jersey, in the Pine Barrens. And the researchers, Eric Spinner and Art Mack, they do a lot of research. They're in the field all the time. So I said to Eric, I said, listen, man, I would love to go down there and do a video on this, see what we could do, see what we can get.
Right.
So the first time we get down there, we're sitting, and it was Art again that had this first time happen. Dominic and Art are talking about the protocols that they do for, research and how they go about it. And
Right.
as they're talking, we all hear a whoop in the background, like a whoop. And I sometimes look at those shows and I go, I see these people whooping and hollering. I'm like, is that what they really sound like? But
Yeah.
I'll be damned if that's not what we heard that night.
Was the young girl's name Heather Spinner?
That's Eric's wife. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yes.
And she answers it back.
Yes.
Yeah. And
it was brilliant.
Oh my God. And they were having a conversation back and forth.
Yeah.
So that was all caught on video. So you could see that on video, but that was the first one. And then just September 2nd of 2023, just a few months ago, we did a follow-up again. And that was what we did on the Watch for Squatch. Now, earlier in this episode, I think we didn't get it too much on there, but Dominic was tuning in with Art about his connection to Art's mother, and how Art's mom would take him out looking for UFOs and paranormal stuff all the time when he was a kid. So Art's aura right now, as Dominic was looking at him, was all kinds of different colors. But when he talked about his mom, it stayed one solid white aura.
That's beautiful.
So, which was really cool. So what Dominic was getting at was that Art has this connection with Sasquatch somehow, where he's able to, and again, as way out as this sounds, that, and maybe some of your listeners will agree or disagree, but he's feeling like the Sasquatch is looking through Art's eyes and seeing through Art's eyes what is going on. Now, that came into play that night because, again, we're sitting in base camp and we're sitting there talking, and I'm like saying to the guys, look, this is great. I really can't wait to get out into the woods and figure out what's going on here. Let's go look for some tracks. And so as we're doing that, Art had said, guys, I don't know if it's because of my medications or what, but, my heart is really racing right now. So as he says that, bam, we hear this cracking of a branch, and you could see it behind us. It's like moving behind us. And then for a split second, I saw two yellow eyes about 7 feet up, just going back, going like there and then gone, then disappeared. And I was like, oh my God, I was floored. I could not believe that. And you could see all of our reactions are on the video. It's on the Watch for Squatch Part 2. Yeah. And all of our reactions, that's all genuine. It's not BS.
And you can see the underside of the leaf kind of comes up. So it's got that bit of a shimmer to it. Like you can see that it's moving. It's
there. Something's there. And I tried to get it as best as I could. Eric's daughter, Anastasia, was on camera, and she was awesome. She was able to get right over because she heard it too. We all heard it.
Great.
And it was just crazy. So we heard that. And then both Eric and I heard footsteps or something going through the brush back down to the swamp area. So in the area that we were in, if folks are familiar with the New Jersey Pine Barrens, we were in an area called the Wharton State Park. And that particular area, we weren't sure if we were going to get any kind of activity because, thank you, Ed.
Thank you, Ed.
And we didn't know if we were going to get any activity because that area had been caught on fire in July.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
There were some New Jersey wildfires. So where we were sitting was basically all the trees were scorched around us. And I thought
Yeah.
maybe that, but I wanted to go back there because that's the same place we were at in 2021.
Right.
So man, I'm telling you, there is something there because their activity is at an all-time high, and it's just absolutely crazy. So why I'm saying that, going through Art's eyes, looking at this thing, because I think what Art's reaction was, maybe it was the Sasquatch looking at us.
Exactly.
Why Art was getting so freaked out.
Yeah.
Because and then we went over there to try to find if we could see any prints. We didn't get any prints. There's a lot of leaves, and so it was really hard to get any kind of any prints or anything like that. No hair samples, but that was an amazing night. I mean, we did some tree knocks, and but didn't get anything. We did more knocks the very first time, and we got some more howls and stuff like that in the background. But
Right.
Yeah, it was an amazing night.
And people don't always think about, like, what you're seeing on those shows are an edited version of something that's happened. You could sit out there for hours and hours and hours and have absolutely nothing. So,
well, after, lucky for us, it happens within 20 minutes of us getting there.
I love that.
I don't know what it is. I always say
It's a
Dominic.
magnet.
I thought it was Dominic, but you know what? Maybe it's Art now when we get down there, because it seems like he's the one. But your listeners saying, could you smell
For James? Yeah, his nickname is the Wiz, so we can call him Wiz.
I both in Elkhorn and for the Bigfoot, we didn't smell anything. We didn't smell any, like people would say that they smell that like rotting,
Skunky.
like wet dog skunky smell. We didn't smell anything like that. But it was just phenomenal.
And it really does make you want to go more. I think it was the first time. I'm a late bloomer with a lot of things. So leaving Ontario and going into the United States, I was like in my 40s. So
wow.
I know.
That's okay.
I know. But I had the opportunity to go from, I went from La Jolla up to Santa Cruz, doing some like investigations, and went to like the Sasquatch Museum, I think the Bigfoot Museum. And the fellow there talked to me for hours. He was so lovely to me because I just kept asking questions and questions. And then we went for a walk through the redwoods, and it was awesome to see where the pinpoints were. And I think even not having an experience, but just putting myself out there is memorable.
Oh yeah.
Like even totally. Not having it's still memorable.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. The every investigation that we're on is fascinating because we're always getting new information. And, the research is always ongoing. That's the thing with paranormal investigation. You never know, like, what you get a definitive answer of what's going on, but you kind of get close to the phenomena, but it's always ongoing. Now, with orbs and ghost sightings, they're doing experiments now with light spectrum because, during the day, maybe there's orbs during the day that we're just not seeing, and UFOs that we're just not seeing during the day, but people seem to, especially with night vision and whatnot, there's some kind of filter we're able to see these things a little bit more clear.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's one thing. And, there's a lot of different ways of approaching it, but we try to approach it as truth-based as possible.
And being transparent, here's what we found. So it's adding to the community so people can grow from that information as well, too. It's not
totally.
Yeah, not hidden. Joanna's just asking if you could explain tree knocks for her.
Oh, tree knocks. So, a lot of communications, I guess you could say, a lot of research has shown that Bigfoot, Sasquatch tends to communicate through knocking or tree knocks. So you'll see these guys on some of the shows, knocking the trees and they're hoping for an answer back, Mm-hmm. And so it's basically, that's what we were doing that night. We're taking like a squatch stick and banging one of the trees.
Right.
Certain ways of doing it that you can, and then you have to be completely quiet and hear if you get any kind of knocks back. because apparently this is a way of communication that they're accustomed to.
With us not really knowing what we're communicating back with. Like,
Exactly.
you don't really know if you're saying, hey, I want to play, or stay away, or bring a pizza. Like,
yeah, right.
You don't know.
Exactly. You just don't know.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was just, so having those knocks. Now, we didn't hear too much of that when we were doing the tree knocks. Just like when we do EVPs, we don't really get much EVP action. Although the other night when we were at the Vampa Museum, that was the first time that happened. And it was a voice, and it was like almost like to me it sounded like a gurgle, like almost like a growl.
Oh.
And there's a doll in this one room that's from Burma. It's a huge doll. It's like almost 5 feet tall, and it's got this weird look on it. I mean, it's got real hair, and it's just so bizarre. And when I had the camera looking on it after we heard this thing, I don't know. I mean, of course, I'm trying to keep it as steady as possible, but it's looking like it's moving back there, like it's moving around. So it was weird. That's something that we're looking into now, and that video should be out in May or June. That we're going to release that video. So the frustrating thing is when I'm doing all the editing, which I'm priding myself into at least getting, when we do an investigation, we usually within 30 to 45 days, I'll have the video done. It's basically, we set up events for the videos that take a couple of months to get to,
Right.
But
Julie, I hope that you get to see the redwoods, because it's it's have you been? It's I don't even have words. Like, I'm from Northern Ontario, and Northern Ontario is beautiful and magical, but it's rocks, cliffs, trees. It's it's just powerful, and that's how it felt there. Electric, and
wow,
like it has its own pulse. And if you, like Julie, you being intuitive and sensitive, you would feel that there's a pulse when you're there. So we walked barefoot. My friend and I walked barefoot through the whole park.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, because you felt it more, and
you felt connected. You grounded, obviously. Yeah, that's great.
So Gar James is in Washington. You can correct me. I'm pretty sure that's where I sent your Christmas card this year. was Washington, Knox and Howells, and he's like got a little cabin up in the mountains as well too. But
I don't doubt it, man. I mean, Washington is a huge hotbed for Sasquatch activity, and and with the California wildfires too. A lot of thought was that a lot of these creatures and the cryptids were migrating east, because we've been getting a lot of activity out here.
Well, would they not just be migratory anyway if they were following their food sources?
That's true. Could be.
Potentially.
Yeah.
Like if we look at it that way.
You don't really see too much activity in the middle of the state or in the middle of the country, right? You only see a lot on the west and east coasts, and a lot of activity apparently on the eastern seaboard, like even as much so as the west. So yeah, but I'm wondering though, if it's also, could it be Bigfoot, or is it also Dogman at the same time?
Right. And do they hunt each other?
Or do they work together? That's the other thing we were thinking.
Like a pack.
And could the hellhound be working with Bigfoot?
Down the rabbit hole we go.
I know. Oh my God. It's like,
but that's part of the excitement in it and the what if and what if and what if and what if. And that's how we learn more, right? Like, is by asking.
Totally. I've learned so much on these investigations that I didn't really know. Here's the other thing too. It's like, I am so fascinated with the fact that when we do these videos, just locally, people have no clue at what's in their own backyard. They're basically, they drive by these wonderful venues every day, but they don't know the history. So that's what we're doing. We're telling people, it's pretty much like a paranormal tourism TV show where we're showing people what to do, where to stay, what to do. But at the same time, we're experiencing all of these crazy things on camera, and it's just amazing. We're doing a video coming up pretty soon of a winery in our area called New Hope.
I talked to you that morning, actually, with the morning of your meeting.
Oh my God. And so that's going to be really cool. And then we have and then my buddy Ken Kitchings up in Connecticut, we're going to do a video at the Old Lime Inn in Connecticut in May. He has the Side Door Jazz Club. So this is the first time that we're going to be in a jazz club doing a video. So it's right up our alley. And so that's going to be in May. And then, oh man, it's going to be busy. It's going to be a very, very busy year. And just in October, we had so many events having, for everything that we did. And then November and December of last year, what I do with my jazz quartet, we always do we do a holiday concert tour. So we go up and down the Eastern Seaboard performing a lot of the music from the Charlie Brown Christmas cartoon and a lot of originals. And that every single concert was sold out this time around. It was phenomenal wherever we went. And I don't say that to boast. I say that because for 30 years, I've been trying to bring more people into jazz and the way we're presenting it. And it's finally nice to see people there, sold out, smiling, having a great time listening to music.
Right.
And then my like I said, my jazz audience has followed me into the paranormal world. They're out there going, "We love your show," So it's cool.
Yeah. So you're sparking that enthusiasm, right, and broadening people's minds in all kinds of different areas.
I hope so, man. I hope so.
So if you are just tuning in and joining us, you are listening to Spirit Switchboard. I'm your host, Kerrilynn Shellhorn, and you are listening to us live on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 and 107.7 New Orleans. So my guest this week is Eric Mintel of Eric Mintel Investigates, and we are talking about all things paranormal, creepy, unknown, cryptids, UAPs.
Everything.
Yes. Julie is just commenting, Eric, that Mike loves your setup there with the...
there you go. Mike, here it is, man. This is
it. ETs.
EM.
Oh, we lost you again. Let's just bring you back.
It was so powerful. I just got knocked off.
I think Julie needs to check it and make sure you didn't bring home an attachment.
Exactly. Every time we have to change it out, reset it.
It's all good. Denise. Oh, so Denise is just asking what platform, streaming place, channel are your videos on?
Denise, that's a great question. You could see, if you want to see it right away, there's a lot of videos on YouTube, on our YouTube channel. Like and subscribe. It's Eric Mintel Investigates. Also, friend us on Eric Mintel Investigates on Facebook and on Instagram and TikTok and all that good stuff too. Eric Mintel, I think, is on TikTok. And then, and then we're on a lot of different cable stations, but we're working with, we're trying to get a travel channel show. We're trying to do, so we've got a million things going on that we're trying to do. It's so much fun. And thank you for having me on tonight.
I was super excited that all of you, that whole little gang is going to be part of the Spirit Switchboard. So Dominic is coming on. Oh, yeah. Ed is coming on. Oh, Julie, definitely. Looks like we have, I've got a spot open February 16th.
Julie, you're on.
If you want one, I've got a spot open.
Julie,
and then after March 22nd.
Julie and her husband, Mike, are some of the greatest people. They're really, really great people. And that's what we try to surround ourselves with, people that are like-minded, forward thinkers. And that's a lot of the people that I've worked with a lot of the videos that I've worked with. They're forward thinking because they know that this genre is huge and it's the way we're presenting it. That's the key. And it's the key with my jazz. It's the key with this. It's how you present the material. And I have a means to an end with the videos too. We're just, like I said before, we're just not doing the videos to do the videos. We've got the TV outlets to show these. So it's a wonderful, wonderful situation, and people are loving what we're doing, and we love doing it and meeting people. And And I'll tell you, I got to tell you guys my UFO story.
Okay. So
there's
Julie, I'm going to get your information from Eric at the end of the show, if that's okay, or you can email me and we will hook up and we will have you on the show. I'm looking forward to it.
And Julie, just put your social security number right here. And
No.
No. But
no. But I would love to hear about the UAPs because it's such a thing now, right? Well, they're saying that they're being more transparent. Your American government is saying they're being more transparent.
Well, I think with the UFO situation, yeah. I mean, they're saying, look, folks, you guys are seeing these things that, yes, these UFOs are real, but we just don't know what they are. I really don't think they know what they are. They don't know what we're dealing with. Then you've got a lot of these other things that happened in Miami just recently at the Miami Mall. You've got aliens at the mall. Now, I don't know if that was bogus or not, because there's like over 300 police cars there. It was just for this thing was supposed to be a fight that broke out.
With no cam footage, no body cam footage, no car cams.
Then you've got the Las Vegas story about the Las Vegas aliens in the backyard of this one house that there was some footage of that was really weird. And I was like thinking to myself, this could be CGI, which it probably is, which unfortunately, a lot of the stuff now that we've got AI and CGI, any of the stuff that you've got out there now, I hate when people are putting out these fake UFO sightings because it really ruins the research. It's like I hope that people don't think that that's real, because a lot of the stuff that they're putting out there is not. If you go back to the 70s, with a lot of the film footage, that stuff is more likely to be real than what we've got now. A lot of the CGI. But every once in a while, you get things that are like, wow, this is interesting. But no.
Thank you, Denise. I'm glad that you found Eric and that you are following along. And
thank you. That's awesome. Thank you so much, Denise. I appreciate that.
Cheryl is just saying, from ancient ruins, there are pictures drawn on the rocks of sky people.
I have to say, too, we've got a big paranormal convention coming up on March 9th. I know you guys, I don't know, everybody's all from different areas, but we're going to be March 9th at Bucks County Community College in Newtown, Pennsylvania. And we've got the featured speaker is going to be Nick Pope from Ancient Aliens. And Bill Burns is also going to be there from UFO Hunters. Myself and Dominic are going to be there. And we've got Eric Spinner and Jim Krug and Tom Carey. It's going to be all about UFOs, ghosts, Bigfoot, you name it. We'll have vendors and food trucks there.
Talks.
Yeah. What's that? Yeah. Oh, it's going to be, this is our first time that we've done this. So
love it.
It's something that it was screaming in our area that needed to be happening. So I'm really happy that it's coming, and it's tickets are going good.
Oh, so that's awesome.
People can find tickets on my website, ericmintelinvestigates.org, and also at Bucks County Community College. But on my website is more likely to find it. But UFOs. My girlfriend and I were going. This is February of 2016. We were going over this bridge outside of New Hope, Pennsylvania. It's called Center Bridge. And we were going over the bridge. She lived in a house in Stockton, New Jersey at the time. And we're going over the bridge, and all of a sudden and we're going over the Delaware. And out of the corner of my eye, I see 5 orange orbs just appeared out of nowhere. And it looked like swirling lava. It was just like, it just came into our reality or something. Mm-hmm. So I'm like looking at this. And now in the few seconds that this happened, in my rational mind, I'm thinking, could this be like Chinese lanterns, because there's a restaurant there. Maybe there's a wedding or something going on. Somebody just lit off, but it was a Wednesday night. It was cold. It was like February, so there was nobody getting married.
Right.
And we looked at these things, and it looked like they did a search pattern over the river, and then one by one, they just started disappearing. But I was able to get one shot of it. It blew us away. It was something that was just unbelievable, and never had that kind of thing happen ever. And just to see this was amazing. And then looking at some of the shows again that people are seeing these things, those were the same things that we saw. These just these orbs that are just hanging there. So that was amazing. And then I I have after Kathy too. I have a guardian angel story I got to tell you too.
I'm just going to share. I'm just going to share a couple of things Kathy is sharing with us. So Nick Pope has many legitimate connections with investigators, and then she made a spelling error, and I was trying really hard, Kathy, to understand what the question was, but then you did the correction, and then I got it. And
oh yeah.
Yes. But hopefully they do bring muffins, because it is all about the snacks.
I was going to say muffin rep, but I didn't. No, yes. we've got some representatives from MUFONs that's going to be there as well from the Pennsylvania chapter.
So the sighting that my brother had was also a huge orange light in the sky that was behind the neighbor's barn. Do
you know what year that was?
Oh, I think I was 12 or 13, so it was a while ago, because I'm 52, so it was a while ago. And Northern Ontario as well too. So
amazing. I mean, it's just, again, it was just like, I've always had, like, with everything paranormal, I've always been, again, a little on the skeptical side. Like, I'm not
open-minded skeptics is how we should all be. Even us as sensitive should be still skeptical and trying to debunk first.
Totally. And so I go into a lot of these, like, I don't want to go into an investigation thinking that everything's haunted all of a sudden. It's like this place is haunted. We don't know. We go in with a complete open mind.
And I wanted to comment too, like, I as a medium, like, it's my full-time gig, like sessions and like, it's been my full-time gig for 17 years now, and my life since I was a kid. So I appreciate that you respect the people that you are investigating with, to not give them that information and to let them be who they are and do what they can do to the best of their abilities, because that adds to it, and you're not, watering it down or feeding them the information, and you can all be transparent in that. It's super frustrating as a medium, and I'm known for saying it. I had, like, swag made hoodies and t-shirts that said "Shush with love," because it was like, please stop, no, stop talking.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh totally. Yeah. And that's, what, it's funny you say that, because a lot of times, we'll get on site and the owner will be, like, very, excited to tell what's going on.
Yeah, but Dominic, because they want to be heard.
Yeah, and Dominic's there, and he's like, "Oh, wait, don't say anything, don't." So I have Dominic, either he shows up later or goes out into the other. Good. So yeah, and this happened again, like when we did an investigation of this Hanoverville Roadhouse. Dominic had no idea where we were going until we got on site. And then he picked up on a whole bunch of stuff that was going on there. And then it turns out that we had a static camera in the attic where there's been a lot of activity. And in this mirror that was in the attic, we caught a shadow coming up in the mirror and coming down. And so Mark, the owner, says to us earlier, he says, "Whatever you do, don't touch the mirror." Oh, he said a paranormal group was in here before. They turned that mirror around and all hell broke loose in here. So he said, "Whatever you do, don't touch the mirror." Of course, some of my friends would say, "Why didn't you touch the mirror, man? You should have just turned it around." But I wasn't going to do that. So we left it alone. But we saw, and you could see this in the video. It's a haunting at the Hanoverville Roadhouse. You could see this at the end. The shadow comes up into the mirror just like that and comes back down. And there was nobody up there.
And no light source or anything.
No lights, nothing.
Yeah.
So weird. But I got to tell you real quick, I got to tell you my guardian.
We've got lots of time. We've got about 20 minutes.
I don't know if your listeners have ever had this experience, but back in 1997, I was on my way to a gig, on my way to a jazz gig, and out here in Bucks County. And I'm going down. It's cold. It's like a January night. It's cold. It's for probably around 5:36, so it's dark really early. And I'm booking along down this one dark road, and I'm like late to the gig. So I'm trying to get there, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, a deer runs out in front of me, and I hit it. And I felt terrible. And I'm like, so I hit this deer, I couldn't do any reaction to it. It just was there. Right. And hit it, and we're 60 feet sliding down the road together, the deer and the car. I stop and I get out of the car, and I'm looking at this, and it's in my headlights, and I'm looking at this thing, and I felt so terrible. And I'm like, and I hear Now, I'm a piano player. For those who don't know, I play piano. And I hear a woman's voice in the woods behind me in the dark say, "How's your hands?" And I turned around and hear this woman comes out of the woods, takes this 200-pound deer by the ear and just drags it off the road like it's nothing, and says, "You better get off the road. You better get in your car and get off the road." So I did. I left. But when I saw her, if you could picture this, if you ever see somebody in the headlights, if someone's standing in front of the headlights of your car, you get like that blurry image. You can't really see the outline of that person. You know, they're there, but you just see them. That's what she looked like to me. And then said, "You better get off the road." So I got in my car, got out of there, went to the gig, told the guys what happened. I had like a little dent in the front of my hood, which was, it was pretty big dent. So I went back the next day. I went back that night because I had to go back home that way. The deer was gone. But I went back the next morning and I thought to myself, well, maybe there was a house back there. Maybe there was a woman that spooked this deer out, and that's why I hit it. But I went back there. There was not one house to be found. Nothing. It was nothing but woods. And there has been this story of this lady in white here in Bucks County. And I'm wondering if that's who it was. And also, my father had an incredible encounter, and he said even on his deathbed 2 years ago, I asked him again. I said, "Dad, did this really happen?" He's like, "Yes." So he would, in the 70s, my dad was a partier, and he would go out and come home late, and he'd be home sometimes 2 a.m. And he swears he was sober this night, and he was not doing anything. But he had a thing where he would cook a steak on the grill. We had a little hibachi that was on our front porch. And he said he was sitting there one night cooking this grill. It was a clear night. And we lived across the street. There was a road, and then across the street about maybe a half a mile was the Delaware River. Again, the Delaware. So he's looking out there, and all of a sudden he sees this woman, a white figure, floating on the water. And he's looking at this person. He sees her hair flowing and everything. And then when she turned to look at him from a half a mile away, or a quarter of a mile away, her face came right up to his when she turned to look at him. And then when she turned back, she went back again to the water. And then as she's walking, she's going, "I'm going home. I'm going home." And it was like echoing through the valley. And he swears that happened. And then she just disappeared. And then there are stories of this lady in white here in Bucks County. So I'm wondering if that's the same person I had an encounter with. And then he had gone to a psychic medium and said that the psychic told my dad that he had a very blue aura around him, and that I had one that was even greater. But I don't have that, I don't think I've developed that. But maybe talent-wise, I'm able to, sit at the piano and play anything I want. I don't know, but
there's an intuition to being a musician. There's an intuitive channeling that happens, right?
There's things that I don't even know. Space. I don't even know where they've come from. Like in the, in our improvisations, we don't rehearse. People are saying, "Do you guys rehearse that?" And if people want to check us out, it's Eric Mintel Quartet on YouTube. We do a lot of concerts and stuff, but we can't rehearse that. I mean, it's just there is an intuitive factor. I think there's like all the senses are going at the same time.
That's right. And when you're in a non-thinking space, like when it's when you have full breath and it's non-thinking, that you're open to receiving, and it just sort of channels through. Exactly. Do you not feel, being around intuitive people and doing these investigations, that your that intuitive muscle is developing or growing? Like, do you not get that? Oh, yeah, the energy feels like there's going to be something here or not here. Do you pick up on those?
That's a good question. I do a lot of talking to the universe. Let's just put it that way.
Oh, I love that, though.
I'm about that. I really
am brilliant.
A strong believer in that. And I mean, I can't tell you how many times that things have happened for me that when I've asked for that intention, and it's amazing. So
the more you recognize it and say, "Thank you very much," the more you receive.
Exactly. And I think the main thing is, if you could get people what they want, then you'll have everything you need.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
Hmm.
You know, it's like a selfless kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I get asked that a lot in sessions, like about path and purpose, and I am very vocal about it, and I share it all the time, that our purpose is to share the gift of who we are unconditionally with the world around us.
oh yeah,
And
totally.
we're always learning about who we are. Like the gift of who we are is always evolving, right? But
You know,
sharing it with everyone is what we're meant to do.
totally. And you know, when I started my paranormal show, I thought to myself initially, I was like, am I going to alienate my jazz audience? You know, am I going to put myself
Mm,
out there? But you know what? Again, if you have a belief in yourself and a belief in what you're doing, none of that matters because, and I'm glad I didn't second guess myself because people love what we're doing. And
yeah.
yet, every once in a while, you'll get a negative comment. But I mean, for the most part, everybody's been positive about what we're doing, and because they could
Yeah.
see that people are
Well,
very,
you're a
very
human being and multifaceted. So
right.
music isn't all of who you are. There's
Exactly,
more to you than that, right?
exactly, exactly.
Roseanne is just asking, what are your thoughts about the many
Many, many.
paranormal shows on
That's
TV?
she just said it. Many, 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 many. I think you know there's some good, there's some bad. I think there's a lot of the shows are more entertainment value than they are truth based, and that's fine. You know,
And
that's
there's room for everyone and there's a market for everyone, or they
totally
wouldn't be as long lasting as what they are.
exactly, exactly. I mean, they've got to hit. You know, they're speaking to somebody. You know, and
Mhm.
that's the thing because people are having like I've said before, people are having these experiences. So a lot of these things are something that you know are speaking to people, and you know, a lot of times I'll get people saying. You know, sending me messages saying, you know, our house is haunted. Please help us. And that's not what I do. I
Yeah.
don't do that. I wouldn't be able to go in and you know sage a house and get rid of that spirit. But
Right.
I direct them to the people that I know that do that. And
Well, that's what these, I personally feel that the many TV shows are at least opening the conversations.
yeah, oh yeah,
They're
totally.
opening the conversations, and you know, you will find what you need to find.
Well, would we even be talking about this 15 years ago as we are freely talking about it now?
Yeah.
I mean, I think the entire world is open to all these different possibilities.
Yeah.
I mean, look what everybody went through with COVID, right? I mean, if that like
We're not,
just
we can't say that word. We have to be careful. We could
okay,
get dinged. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
It's
But
the C word where we were all locked down.
pretty
So
much. But if we could
yeah.
survive that, you know,
Yeah.
and it's like this kind of this thought process, you
Yeah.
know, and yeah, I mean, it's crazy times, but I'm so glad that people are open to it, and the government is actually coming out and having these hearings. Although the hearings aren't really answering many questions, but at least they're having them, and that's a good thing.
Yeah. Well, again, like the conversations are beginning.
Yep.
Even at those higher levels, whether they're fully transparent or not. But there'll be more accountability if more people are asking for it.
Right.
More people are pushing to have those
I mean, at the
conversations.
end of the day, people just want to know.
Well, I don't. Do you feel everybody's ready? Really? I don't feel everybody's quite ready. But
That was my point with the C word. I think if
yeah,
we get through that, we're ready for other stuff.
yeah.
You know
But
the
definitely during that time period, y- there was an uptick with people having experiences of paranormal, and
because we were home.
yeah,
I mean, you
yes,
know, and we're more sensitive to what's going on around us. You know, and we were thriving.
emotions heightened as
Oh
well
yeah.
too.
Oh, and we were thriving with video because the idea was once everything opens up again, you know, people are going to go want to experience these places. But we were getting a lot of people that were just like, you know, UFO encounters. I mean, we just got done doing a UFO video last year. All of last year, we had a huge UFO flap here in Bucks County. People were seeing the same brightly lit object, multiple lights,
Mhm.
hovering low, silent. People were sending me drawings of what they're seeing. And so we went on site to one of our witnesses, which actually right down the road here, and Mitch and Robin Sherman, they were not hesitant about being on camera. It
That's
was
awesome.
great. And we actually had an encounter that night with something. We, oh my God, you know, he was pointing in the area that he saw this object and we were all looking up and we caught it on video. It was like a light came on and then blinked out. So something was out there. And some people were saying, well, that could have been a satellite. I don't think it was a satellite.
So do you feel that intention also mattered? If it's coming around their property, that there's maybe an intuitive or telepathic connection where they can ask for that to come in?
Yes. You know why? And that's a great question, because why I think that's true. Robin had some kind of an experience there. And I don't know if some of your listeners might have had this too. She said that she's sitting there watching this thing, and all of a sudden a light, which was only about this, she said, the size of a finger, a light beam came up to her face and like was there and then shot right off. So she's saying that this thing shot off, and I'm thinking to myself, could this thing be scanning her? Is it like looking to see what,
or connecting,
trying to connect? Because we've had other stories happen.
Interesting.
With that same kind of light. Also in Elkhorn, the same thing. Lee has pictures of these light beams that are coming down out there. So it's an interconnected. It would be
interesting to do it again with her and ask her if she'd be willing to, listen to drumming music or play drumming music, put herself into some kind of like meditative breathing state and ask for that to pull in and see if something happens kind of like on demand.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. Because that's what I think the intention is there.
Yeah.
And they've been getting more activity there. So we,
and it feels there's no harm in that. Like it's clearly there out of curiosity and connection. And, if she has that clear heart where she's brave to say, this is the story, then, maybe there's more story going to unfold through her. Right.
Oh my God. Yeah. These guys are incredible. I mean, they're just very genuine people. And I mean, he's got a reputation too. So he's very vocal about these things that he's experienced. And in our research, again, I feel as though, and I'm sure you feel this too, people are picked to experience these experiences. And some of these people maybe have their antenna is a little bit more attuned to these experiences. And that's why they're able to have these profound experiences.
It would also be interesting to see if that person had experiences as a child and is starting to remember as an adult because of the new experiences triggering old memories.
Totally. That's exactly. And we do that. We ask them a lot of times, we say, has this something that's been happening all your life or just recently? And most of the time they've had family members that have had those experiences. So we feel sometimes it may be generational too.
So I'm just going to put it out there as well too. I would also be curious, and I would ask those people who are having those sort of interactions with UAPs or those light sources if they have weirdness with owls as well too.
I can't believe you just said that.
Yeah. Well, there's a backstory to that for me.
Oh my God, you have a story. Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, we don't need to go into my story. I'd love to hear your story.
Well,
yeah, I had an existential crisis over the summer with memories and owls and light sources and aliens. I had a whole thing happen. But
not to bring this, I don't want to bring the show down too much here, but my girlfriend just lost her daughter to cancer on January 9th, and she had I'm
very sorry.
Very, very advanced uterine cancer, and she it was diagnosed in August and then in January, and then Sherry asked her before she passed. She said,
Sherry is your girlfriend?
Yeah.
Just so we're clear.
Sherry, yeah. Okay. Sherry asked, and her daughter's name was Paige, and she said, you got to show me some signs that you're here, that you're still with me. Give me the owls. Show me the owls. Or the last few days now, owls have been hooting out here.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And we have not had any kind of owl activity in a while.
Wow.
So, I mean, it was just amazing. And then the other day, a cardinal had been tapping on our window, but she asked her, show me another sign. And then the cardinal brought his girlfriend over. So they're both, it's just amazing. So it's, I want to say like a comforting kind of thing for her. But but it was just amazing. So when you said owls, and I'm looking at the owl behind you.
Yeah, there's actually there's the big one behind me, and then two, I guess it would be your right. There's another one and right behind my head. It's
Okay.
kind of right there.
Yep.
Yeah, there's owls all back there, actually.
So owls are important, and we're also finding now owls are connected to, believe it or not, extraterrestrial.
Oh, that's what I mean. Like to
Yeah.
your neighbor that had that light source, I would ask if they also have some sort of alien or like an owl story that
I'm gonna definitely reach out to them,
because there is a connection for sure.
Wow.
There's a connection.
Well, when you
and
get back,
with signs from spirit, I tell people it just needs to, it just needs to be weird. It's weird. And then, you know, for sure. And again, they want to connect. So the more you say, thank you very much, this was awesome, and bring it on. It's okay. You give them those sort of boundaries with what you're comfortable with, and they'll do that because they want you to be as joyful and peaceful here so you can be more of purpose and of service.
absolutely. Yeah.
Sorry for the soapbox.
No. I couldn't have said it better, but I totally agree. And that's been a very, very strong force in both of our lives that way. So yeah, for sure.
And how wonderful for the two of you to have one another with a same belief system, or being able to support each other through that journey, right?
Yeah.
And
oh, absolutely. Yeah.
exploring the other side and having faith and comfort in it.
Yeah. And, you know, and she's sensitive too. She's a sensitive. So she's got that second sight, which has been amazing too. I've tried to get her out on some investigations. So, but yeah, I mean, it's just.
It's hard it's kind of hard when you bring family around. I have to I've dragged my sister around and.
And sometimes they're like, why are we here?
Yes. And my sister doesn't want to step into using her intuitive abilities at all. She just, she's scared of it. She doesn't want to have those interactions. So, Michelle's just asking really quickly, I wonder why owls are the choice for them. I don't know if it's just an easy thing for us to connect with. It's a whole thing. We'll have to do a show. Maybe we'll do a show about owls and aliens. And
that would be phenomenal. You know,
do
you guys remember that book, Communion by Whitley Strieber?
Yes.
Okay, so he has a section in there where he thought he was there were owls in the house that night.
Yes, there's another book by Mike, and I'm sorry that I can't remember his name, but it's Owls as Messengers, and from his experience as well too, which kind of led my spiral down in the summertime. Greg is just sharing, do you believe that a large quartz deposit could attract UFOs? I don't know. I've actually not heard that, but it's something that I will research a little bit more to see.
Yeah, I mean, I have heard similar stories of that, like quartz and gold is another thing. You know, gold is another attraction. Could it be maybe it's a power source? I don't know.
Kathy, are you talking about?
You're talking about Whitley Strieber. I'm sure, yeah, because there's a great documentary on him called The Visitors, and he is still getting visitations to this day.
And his wife passed as well too, right? So they have that.
Oh yeah, and then she came back in the form of a moth.
Yeah,
which is wild.
Yeah. Yes, super wild.
Oh right, they did a thing where he has an implant as well. They can't get it out of his, I guess, on the side of his ear.
I think I will look into where I can put that on the calendar for sure. In doing that, this has been great. Thank you so much for responding to my email really quick. It was I was so excited.
Absolutely.
About having on the show. Do you want to give another quick shout out to where people can get information about the paranormal Paracon that you've got coming up, and where to find you?
So a couple of things people could, if they're in the Bucks County, Pennsylvania area, or New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware area.
I don't mind traveling too, because people will travel.
If you'd like to travel, come on out, do a road trip.
Yes.
We're at the so March 9th. We're going to be at Bucks County Community College on March 9th from 12 to 7 p.m. It's the very first Bucks County Paracon. And we're going to have featured speaker. There's going to be Nick Pope from Ancient Aliens. We've got Bill Burns from UFO Hunters. Myself and Dominic Sattele will be there. We've got Jim Krug, Eric Spinner, and Tom Carey. And we're going to definitely, I'm not to slight any women, but next year we're going to have a lot of women speakers on as well. So we've got that in the mix. This is our first one that we're doing. So we're trying to keep it local to the area. And now we're going to be able to do this on a yearly basis. But it's March 9th from 12 to 7. And you could find tickets on my website. It's ericmintelinvestigates.org. And then people can find my show at Eric Mintel Investigates on YouTube.
And they're great. Like, please go check them out and like, subscribe, hit the notify button. If you hit that notify bell, then you get to know when everything is uploaded new.
Oh yeah, and we've got a new one coming out actually this Saturday night, I believe. It's our part 2 of Bray Road, which I just re-edited, and I took some things out of it that didn't need to be in there, and now I've got because I don't think a lot of people have seen this part 2, and oh my God, it's amazing.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Thank you, Heather, for watching the show and your comments. If you guys are listening, hang out for a little bit longer. Around 8:15 Eastern Time is the Church of Church of Mavis, with Jeffrey Pritchett. He's going to be talking about time travel, UFO, and timelines tonight, which is excellent. Next week on the show, I have Paul and Angela Johnson, the enigmatic explorers. So they are a husband and wife team that travel to the U.S. doing investigations, Bigfoot, hauntings, all of that fun stuff. They have a podcast and 2 actually YouTube channels as well too. Haunted, it's history and hauntings in the United States, I think, is one of them. And I just got the quick Ghost Talk. Haunted Locations is the other one. So they're going to come on next week. So thank you very much to all of the listeners and people in the chat and the comments and the questions. You guys are very much appreciated. Big shout out to the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 and 107.7 New Orleans. So thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, Eric, and have a good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Good night.